Kindly take down notes, you cannot remember everything. And click the subtitles so you can both hear and read.
The iframe tag is not somehow related to frameset tag, instead, it can appear anywhere in your document. It defines a rectangular region within the document in which the browser can display a separate document, including scroll bars and borders. Attributes are src, name, framebr, margin width, margin height, nowhere size. HTML forms. HTML forms is a tool that allows visitors of a website to communicate with the site owner via the internet. HTML forms uses the form tag pair for its declaration. HTML forms is a popular method to make web pages interactive. HTML forms allows website users to enter information and submit it for processing. Take note that there are two steps that must be done in order to create HTML forms in an HTML document. Two steps in creating an HTML form. Number 1, the form's layout must be created. The process includes creating from controls and labels according to an intended purpose. Number 2, a program must then be created to process information from the user input. Take note that these two steps in creating an HTML form are independent of each other and certain tags must be used to create HTML forms. The form tag creates an area in an HTML document that will contain a form's controls and elements. The form tag pair functions similarly to the body and frame set tags. The forms tag pairs contain individual form elements along with any other HTML content for its layout, such as paragraphs, headings, tables, and etc. The opening tag for the tag pair usually contains two attributes: the method and action attributes. The form tags, in its simplest form, can used without any attributes. Like HTML frame sets and main body sections of HTML documents, HTML forms also have attributes that can alter the form's functions and appearance. Form attribute. Name attribute. Name is an optional attribute. They can be used to name forms according to use or purpose if it exists on several forms of a page. Method attribute. Method is required in a form code block. It tells the server what method will be used for the form data. 1. The two-step post method sends the data by allowing the web browser to contact the form processing server specified in the action attribute, then sends the data to the server in a separate transmission once contact is made. 2. Get method contacts the form processing server and sends the form data in a single transmission step. The browser appends the data to the form's action URL, separated by the question mark character. Action attribute. Action is required in a form code block. It is a script pointer that processes the form on the server side indicated by a relative path or by a full URL to a script on a server or somewhere else. The input element, used to define common form elements, including text fields, password fields, multiple choice lists, such as checkboxes and radio buttons, clickable images, and submission buttons. Uses the input tag for its declaration. Take note that Number 1, input elements can have many attributes, but must always have the type and name attributes. Number 2, the input elements can contain different types of controls, ranging from text fields to image uploading, and it contains attributes that not only affect the appearance of input controls, but also affect how the controls will behave and the data that they will initially contain. Input element attributes. Type. Type identifies the type of form control to use, depending on use and purpose. Name. Name sets the name for the element. Value. Value sets the value for an input field, such as Number 1. Default values for text and password fields. Number 2. Button text in submit buttons. Number 3. Values for reset and plain buttons. Number 4. Values of the choices in radio buttons. Number 5. Permanent values of hidden fields. Size attribute sets how text field width. Maxlength sets the maximum number of characters for text or password fields. Check specifies whether a radio button or checkbox is initially ticked. SRC attribute specifies the URL of an image in image fields. Did you know that number 1 values on any of the given attributes can greatly affect how each input control behaves? Number 2 attributes declared for a given input control cannot affect other input controls. Number 3 values for certain attributes can be declared as default values that a website user can change according to preference. Textarea. Textarea defines a multi-line input text box. Textarea is used for long text input such as address fields, suggestion fields, and answer fields. Textarea required attributes are name, rows, and calls. Number 1. Rows specifies the height of the text area based on the number of visible lines of text. Possible value is a number between 0 to 9. Number 2. Calls specifies the width of the text area based on the number of visible character widths. Possible value is a number between 0 to 9. Checkbox. Checkbox defines a set of checkboxes. Checkbox, each instance creates a single checkbox, multiple checkbox type inputs create a selection of choices. Checkbox behaves similarly to common checkboxes, multiple checkboxes can be selected as desired. Checkbox required attributes are name, value, and checked. Number 1. Check determines if the checkbox will be ticked or unticked by default. Multiple checkboxes can be ticked using this attribute. Radio. Radio defines a radio button. Radio each instance creates a single radio button. Multiple radio type inputs create a selection of choices. Radio behaves similarly to common radio buttons, only a single item in a group of radio buttons can be selected. Radio required attributes are name, value, and checked. Number 1. Check determines if the radio button will tick or untick by default. Select. Select defines a selection box. Select uses the select tag in its declaration. Select uses the drop-down selection box format as default. Select options or choices are added using option tags followed by the values. Select used as a more compact alternative when there are too many choices. Select, the type of selection box can be defined using 2 attributes in the select tag. Number 1. Multiple transforms the selection box into a list type control where multiple choices can be selected. Number 2. Size transforms the selection box into a single choice list box control. The value given in size determines how many choices are displayed on the control at a time. Input tag will create a clickable button. Submit. Submit defines a submit command button. Submit used to submit the form and its data to an identified web server. Submit forms can have more than one submit input element. Submit required attributes are name and value. Number 1. Value changes the caption of the common button for better identification. The value in the attribute is included in the parameter list when the data is sent to the server. Reset. Reset defines a reset button. Reset erases contents of text-based fields, also reverts other forms to their default states and values. Reset does not initiate form processing. The server may not even know if a reset button is pressed. Reset required attributes are name and value. Value changes the caption of the command button for better identification. Button. Button creates a normal clickable button. Image. Image defines an image that behaves similarly to an image map. Clicking on the image means the form and its data are to be submitted to the server. Image used as a replacement submit control button. Image coordinates must be manually specified.